The glass shattered before anyone could scream. Michael Adetayo stood frozen, watching the champagne bottle roll across the marble floor of his mansion as silence swallowed the party. Moments ago, the hall had been alive with laughter, flashes of cameras, and music vibrating off golden chandeliers. Now all that noise had vanished, replaced by the sound of Michael's phone vibrating against the glass table. His hand trembled as he answered. "Sir," the voice on the line stuttered. "There's a problem, a big one. The board, they've frozen all your accounts. The auditors found missing funds. They think you're—" Michael didn't let him finish. He ended the call, feeling the floor tilt under his feet. The champagne spilled into a golden puddle, reflecting his shocked face. Across the room, his wife Linda was still laughing with guests, dressed in a diamond gown that glittered like a queen's crown. Their daughter Tommy, scrolling on her phone, posted a selfie captioned, "Billionaire family goals." Only David, his son, noticed something was wrong. "Dad?" David whispered, stepping closer. Michael's lips parted, but no words came. For a moment, the music started again, but it no longer sounded like celebration. It sounded like mockery. Within hours, the news broke. Business mogul Michael Adetayo under investigation for embezzlement. His phone exploded with messages, none of them from friends. By dawn, reporters were camped outside the gate. Michael sat at the dining table, tie loosened, eyes red. Linda stormed in, phone in hand. "What is this nonsense, Michael?" she snapped. "You've ruined everything. Our image, my reputation, my friends are calling They think I married a fraud." Michael raised a weary hand. "It's not what it looks like. There's been a setup, but the damage, it's done." "So what now?" she demanded. "You expect us to live like beggars?" He sighed. "We're leaving Eden Heights for a while, to my father's old house in Okuru village." The silence that followed was heavy. Tommy looked horrified. "Village? You mean that place without electricity? Daddy, please tell me you're joking." "I'm not," Michael said quietly. "We need time away to think, to rebuild." Linda's voice trembled, not with fear but rage. "You're asking me to give up my life, my friends, my comfort, for a scandal you caused?" Michael stared at her, something cold settling behind his eyes. "I'm asking you to stand by your husband, just this once." David glanced at his mother and sister. "I'll go with you, Dad," he said firmly. Michael gave a faint, broken smile. The next day, the family's convoy left the mansion. Cameras flashed as the gates opened for the last time. Linda wore sunglasses to hide her tears. Not of sadness, but humiliation. Tommy refused to speak the entire trip, her AirPods blocking out the world. The road to Okuru was rough and dusty, bordered by palm trees and old mud houses. By the time they arrived, the city's glamour felt like another life. The small bungalow stood quietly under the sun, faded paint, rusted gate, but still sturdy. "This," Linda muttered, stepping out of the car, "is a nightmare." Michael ignored her. He carried their bags inside while David swept cobwebs off the porch. Tommy wrinkled her nose at the smell of old wood and kerosene. That night, as the generator hummed faintly, the family sat to eat. The meal was simple, yam and palm oil. Linda poked at it with disgust. "You expect us to live like this?" she asked bitterly. "For now," Michael replied, "until things settle." Tommy rolled her eyes. "My followers are going to think I died." "Then maybe you'll finally rest," Michael said, his tone firm. Linda pushed her plate away. "You've dragged us into this shame. Don't expect gratitude." David clenched his fists under the table. "Mom, please, can't you see Dad's trying?" Linda shot him a look sharp enough to cut glass. "You'll understand when you're older and broke." The night ended in silence. Only the distant croak of frogs filled the air. The next morning, Michael woke early. He stood outside watching the sunrise over the fields. For the first time in years, he heard birds instead of engines. David joined him carrying 2 mugs of tea. "You sure this is the right move?" David asked softly. Michael smiled faintly. "Sometimes, to see people clearly, you have to take away the light that blinds them." David frowned. "What do you mean?" But Michael didn't answer. He just stared at the horizon. In the days that followed, Linda's resentment grew like a vine. She refused to cook or fetch water. Tommy complained endlessly. But Michael remained calm, always patient, always watching. Then one afternoon, Chief Oladell, the village head, came by. He was a tall man with a heavy gold chain and an unsettling smile. "Ah, Mr. Adetayo," he said warmly, shaking Michael's hand. "Welcome to Okuru. I hear you used to be very rich in the city. I hope our humble home suits you." Michael nodded politely. "It will do." But Oladell's eyes lingered too long on Linda. "Your wife must find it challenging here. I can be of help if she ever needs anything." Linda smiled awkwardly, flattered. "That's very kind of you, Chief." After he left, David whispered, "Mom, be careful. That man doesn't look trustworthy." Linda frowned. "Don't talk about elders that way." Later that night, while Michael and David fixed a leaking tap outside, Linda stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror. The once flawless woman from Eden Heights was gone, replaced by someone faded and tired. She thought of Chief Oladell's gold chain, his mansion, his air-conditioned car. Then she looked at her husband, covered in grease, laughing with their son, and felt an unfamiliar anger burn in her chest. The next day, she visited the chief's compound under the pretense of borrowing cooking oil. He welcomed her with a wide grin. "Madam Linda, you don't have to suffer. You deserve better." She hesitated, then smiled back. Days turned into weeks. Rumors began to spread, whispers that the once rich woman had found comfort in the chief's company. Michael pretended not to hear them. But each time Linda came home late, smelling of perfume he couldn't afford, something in him cracked a little more. Tommy, meanwhile, found her own escape. She met Kunla, a married trader who visited the village often. He bought her dresses, perfume, even a smartphone. "You don't belong here," he told her one afternoon, holding her hand. "You're too beautiful for this place." She smiled shyly, believing him. David noticed her sneaking out one evening. "Tommy, where are you going?" "None of your business," she snapped. "Tommy, mind your life, David. Not everyone wants to die poor like you and Dad." He watched her walk into the night, helpless. Later that night, as thunder rolled across the sky, Michael sat on the porch. "They're slipping away," he murmured. David nodded sadly. "What will you do?" Michael's eyes hardened. "Maybe it's time to finish the test." David looked confused. "Test?" Michael smiled, a small, mysterious smile. "You'll see." Before we continue, friends, if you're still watching, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tell us where you're watching from. Nairobi, London, Lagos, Toronto, maybe even Dubai. We love knowing where our amazing viewers are tuning in from. Now, back to the story. Michael woke early the next morning and made a phone call, one that would change everything. He told the person on the line, "It's time. Bring it forward." What it was, nobody in that house could have guessed. But before the day ended, the quiet village of Okuru would know secrets even deeper than poverty. The sound of rain beating on the zinc roof filled the dawn air. Michael sat on the porch, eyes fixed on the muddy road that curved toward the village square. His call from the previous day echoed in his mind. "Bring it forward." David joined him, wiping sleep from his eyes. "Dad, what's going on? You've been on edge since yesterday." Michael sipped his tea slowly. Sometimes, son, people can't see who they are until you let the storm hit. David frowned, trying to understand. But before he could ask more, the roar of an engine broke the morning calm. A black pickup truck rolled into their compound, splashing mud everywhere. The villagers turned their heads. No one in Okuru owned such a vehicle. Two men stepped out, both wearing dark suits. "Good morning, sir," one of them said, handing Michael an envelope. "Everything's ready, as instructed." Linda appeared at the doorway, her robe barely tied. "Who are these people?" Michael smiled faintly. "Old business partners. They came to settle some accounts." She raised an eyebrow. "Business partners? Here?" "Just something I've been managing quietly," he said, turning away. That sentence lingered in her mind all day. Managing quietly? Could it be that Michael wasn't as broke as he claimed? That evening she visited Chief Oladell again, wearing perfume that smelled like city nights. The chief poured her palm wine himself. "You shouldn't suffer here," he told her, leaning closer. "A woman like you deserves to sit beside a man of means." Linda sighed dramatically. "If only you knew how hard it's been. My husband has lost everything." Oladell's lips curled into a knowing smile. "Then perhaps it's time you stopped suffering." Linda's eyes met his, full of fear and excitement all at once. Meanwhile, Tommy sat by the window texting Kunle. "I miss you. When are you coming again?" He replied instantly. "Tomorrow. I have a surprise for you." Her heart skipped. "A surprise?" she typed. "You'll see," he sent back, adding a heart emoji. The next afternoon, Kunle arrived in his sleek car. Villagers gathered, whispering as Tommy climbed in, pretending not to hear. They drove to a nearby town where he handed her a small box. Inside was a diamond bracelet. "It's beautiful," she gasped. "You deserve it," he said softly. "But keep it secret. My wife's getting suspicious." Tommy's smile faltered for a moment, but greed silenced her guilt. Back in Okuru, David helped his father repair a broken fence when a group of men approached carrying official documents. "Mr. Adetayo," one said, "we've confirmed the registration. Everything's approved." Michael nodded. "Good, keep it quiet for now." David looked confused. "Dad, what's going on?" Michael placed a hand on his shoulder. "Not yet, son, trust me." That night, the tension in the house grew thicker than the humid air. Linda came home late, reeking of Oladell's cologne. Michael said nothing, but his silence screamed louder than anger. During dinner, Tommy's phone buzzed. David saw the message light up. "Miss you already, my queen, Kunle." He clenched his jaw. "Tommy, who's Kunle?" She glared. "Don't start, David," Linda intervened sharply. "She's young. Let her breathe." Michael finally spoke, voice calm but cutting. "And what about you, Linda? Are you breathing freely too these days?" The table went still. "Excuse me," she asked, feigning innocence. He looked her dead in the eye. "You come home smelling like another man. You lie about market trips. Do you think I'm blind?" Tommy gasped. "Dad!" Linda slammed her fork down. "How dare you accuse me? You've turned into a bitter old man because you lost your money." Michael's tone didn't rise, but his words did the damage. "Maybe I haven't lost as much as you think." Her eyes widened slightly, then narrowed. "What do you mean?" But he stood up and walked away. Later that night, Linda sat in bed replaying his words. "Maybe I haven't lost as much as you think." If that was true, she couldn't afford to lose her grip on him. Yet Chief Oladell promised her a life of wealth and power, a crown of her own. She was torn between two worlds, not realizing that both were about to collapse. The next morning, rumors swept through the village that Chief Oladell was being investigated by the anti-corruption agency. His convoy was missing, his house sealed off. Villagers whispered that someone had tipped off the authorities. Linda's heart pounded. She ran to his compound. Soldiers blocked the gate. "Please, where is he?" she cried. One of them sneered. "Ask your husband." She froze. "My husband?" But the soldier turned away. She ran home, bursting through the door. "Michael, what did you do?" He looked up from his newspaper, calm. "Good morning, Linda." "You reported him. You destroyed him." Michael folded the paper slowly. "No, he destroyed himself. I just lit the lamp so everyone could see it." She stared at him, trembling. "You're cruel." He rose, eyes cold. "No, Linda, I'm fair." As she stormed into the bedroom, Tommy walked in, holding her phone with shaking hands. "Dad, something's happened." Michael glanced at her. "What now?" She turned the screen toward him. A viral post was trending. Married trader exposed cheating with young girl in Okuru village. The photo showed Kunle and Tommy holding hands. Tommy burst into tears. "I didn't know his wife would find out. She's ruining me online," David whispered. "You knew he was married." "I didn't think. I just—" She collapsed on the floor, sobbing. Michael stood over her silently for a long time before saying, "You wanted comfort, not love. Now you have neither." Linda came out of the room, her face pale. "Michael, please. Whatever game you're playing, stop it before we all lose our minds." He turned toward her. "Game? You think this is a game? Everything happening now is the truth revealing itself." That night, David found his father outside again, staring at the moon. "Dad, what did you mean earlier? That maybe you haven't lost everything?" Michael smiled faintly. "I built more than one company, David. The one everyone knows collapsed, but the second, the one under my friend's name, still thrives. I needed to know who would stand by me if I had nothing." David's eyes widened. "So all this, the move, the struggle, it was a test?" "Yes," Michael said softly. "And now we know where everyone stands." David hesitated. "So what happens next?" Michael looked toward the house where Linda's silhouette moved behind the curtain. "Next, we see how far they'll go." The next day, Linda received a message from a stranger. "I know who you are. Meet me behind the old mill tonight if you want to know the truth about your husband." Fear mingled with curiosity. She waited until everyone slept, then slipped out under the moonlight. Behind the mill stood a figure in a hooded jacket. "You wanted to know the truth?" the person said. "Yes," Linda whispered. "Who are you?" The hood came down. It was one of Michael's former employees. "Your husband isn't broke. He's been pretending, testing you." Linda's heart raced. "Testing me? Why?" "To see if you'd stay loyal, but I guess we both know how that turned out." The man smirked. "He paid me to stay quiet, but I like drama more than money." She trembled. "If what you're saying is true, I'll make him regret it." The man leaned closer. "Be careful. He's smarter than you think." Linda ran home, fury burning through her veins. The next morning, she played her role perfectly. Cooking breakfast, smiling, pretending nothing had changed. But her eyes told another story. Vengeance. As Michael left for the school where he volunteered, Linda called someone. "Yes," she said coldly. "If he's not broke, I want proof. Find out where his hidden money is. I'll pay whatever it takes." Meanwhile, Michael was already one step ahead. That evening, as the family gathered for dinner, he said calmly, "Tomorrow we leave Okuru. There's something I need to show you all in the city." Linda's fork paused midair. "What for?" "You'll see." Her heart pounded, fear and curiosity dancing together. Friends, if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tested your loyalty like this? We love reading your reactions. That night, while everyone slept, Linda crept into Michael's bag and found a sealed envelope labeled confidential. Inside were bank statements. Millions in untouched funds. Her hands shook as she realized the truth. He wasn't broke, he'd never been. A single tear slid down her cheek, followed by a cold smile. "You want a test, Michael," she whispered. "You're about to fail yours." She didn't know that outside the window a shadow watched her. David, wide-eyed, realizing his mother's next move could destroy everything. The morning sun crept through the curtains, casting golden lines across the living room floor. But the warmth didn't touch the cold tension that hung in the air. Michael emerged from his room, suitcase in hand. "Everyone pack your things, we're leaving within the hour." David sat stiffly at the table, eyes flicking between his parents. Tommy yawned, clearly oblivious to the silent storm brewing. Linda forced a smile. "So soon? I thought we'd stay a few more days." Michael shook his head. "No, it's time." Her fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. "And where exactly are we going?" He met her eyes. "Back to the city." Those words sent a shiver down her spine. The city meant exposure. The city meant truth. As the car rolled out of Okuru village, Linda stared out the window, her mind spinning. She had to act before they reached his office, before he revealed everything. She still had the documents she copied from the night before, the bank statements, the account details. If she moved fast enough, she could transfer the funds and disappear. David, sitting beside her, watched silently. He had barely slept after what he saw last night. Every few minutes he glanced at her bag where he knew the stolen papers were hidden. By noon they arrived at a sprawling glass building in the heart of Lagos, Aqualite Group Holdings. Tommy's jaw dropped. "Dad, this place, it's huge." "You work here?" Michael smiled faintly. "Work? No, Tommy, I built it." Linda froze. The truth hit her like thunder. He owns it. He owns everything. The receptionist stood up immediately. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome back." The security guards saluted as he passed. Employees whispered his name as he entered. "That's him, Mr. Adetayo, the founder." Linda's knees went weak. Every lie she had told, every complaint, every moment she'd mocked him, all of it flashed before her eyes. Inside his office, Michael motioned for them to sit. "I owe you all the truth," he began. 2 years ago, I suspected that the people closest to me loved my wealth, not me. So I disappeared and started over from nothing. I wanted to see who would stay. Linda couldn't meet his eyes. Tommy whispered, "You mean the whole time you had money?" "Yes," Michael said softly. "But I needed to know who could love me without it." There was silence, heavy and suffocating. Finally, Linda stood up, voice trembling. "Michael, listen. I didn't know, I only—" He raised a hand. "Don't!" Tears filled her eyes. "Please. I made mistakes, yes, but I didn't mean—" He turned away, looking out the window. "You meant every choice you made, Linda. Every time you humiliated me in front of neighbors, every night you left our bed for that man's house. You meant it." She fell to her knees. "I was desperate. I thought you'd given up. I didn't know you were testing us." Michael faced her again, eyes hard. "And that's exactly why I did." David swallowed hard, torn between pity and anger. "Dad," he said quietly, "Mom made mistakes, but can't we forgive her? We're still family." Michael sighed. "I can forgive her as a human being, but trust? That's gone." Linda wept uncontrollably. "Please, don't do this." But Michael turned to his son. "David, you and Tommy will each have a place here if you want it. But I'll be filing for separation." The words hit like gunfire. Tommy cried out, "No, Dad, please!" Linda reached for him, gripping his trousers. Michael, I'll change. I'll prove. He stepped back. You already have. The door opened suddenly. A man in a gray suit entered, holding a folder. Sir, the press is outside. They've heard you're back. Michael nodded. Good. Let them see. Linda's face twisted. You told the media? He looked at her coldly. I told the truth. Security escorted them through the lobby where flashing cameras and microphones crowded around. Mr. Adetayo, is it true you faked your bankruptcy? Sir, what do you say to those calling you cruel? He stopped, his voice steady. Cruel, maybe. But sometimes to find truth you must walk through fire. The cameras followed as they entered the car. Linda sat beside him, trembling. What now, Michael? You'll humiliate me publicly? He didn't answer. But that night, as they stayed in his penthouse apartment, Linda couldn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching him pack documents into a briefcase. He planned to meet his board the next morning to finalize his public return. At 2 a.m., she crept out of bed and opened her phone. The number she dialed had been waiting. A man's voice answered. Is this Mrs. Adetayo? Yes, she whispered. You still have access to international transfers? Yes, madam, but it'll cost you. I don't care. I'm sending you account details now. Move everything by sunrise. When she hung up, her heart was racing. She imagined herself flying out of the country, maybe to London, maybe Dubai, far from the shame, far from Michael's judgment. But she didn't know that David had been standing by the door the whole time, recording everything. By dawn, Michael woke to the sound of his phone buzzing nonstop. He frowned, opening his bank app. Multiple alerts flashed across the screen. Unauthorized transfer attempt blocked. His eyes hardened. He turned to David. You saw something, didn't you? David nodded silently and showed him the recording. Michael's jaw tightened. So she still hasn't learned. Within minutes, he made a few calls. By the time Linda woke up, 3 men in plain clothes stood waiting in the living room. What's going on? She asked nervously. Michael's voice was calm, almost too calm. Linda, meet the Financial Crimes Unit. They'd like to talk to you. Her face went pale. You called them? He didn't respond. One of the officers stepped forward. Ma'am, we just need to confirm a few transactions you attempted overnight. I didn't, she stammered, clutching her robe. This is a mistake. Michael turned away. No, Linda. The mistake was thinking deceit can build happiness. She screamed as they let her out. Tommy burst into tears, clinging to David. Michael watched silently from the balcony as the car drove away. He looked exhausted, not victorious. Later that afternoon, David approached him in the study. Dad, was that necessary? She's still my mother. Michael rubbed his temples. I know, and I wish it weren't. But sometimes the truth has to hurt before it heals. David frowned. And what about Tommy? She's broken. She'll recover, Michael said quietly. Pain teaches faster than words. The following day, Michael attended a press conference to announce his return as CEO. Cameras flashed as he stood before the reporters. We're not here because I fell, he began. We're here because I stood back up. The crowd applauded. Meanwhile, in a detention office downtown, Linda sat behind bars. Her mascara streaked across her cheeks. An officer entered. You have a visitor. She looked up and froze. Michael stood there, expression unreadable. What do you want? She spat, voice trembling. He sighed. To end this properly. She laughed bitterly. End? You've already destroyed me. He shook his head. No. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped pretending not to see it. Her eyes filled with tears. I loved you, Michael. He looked away. You loved what I could give you. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, so this was all about teaching me a lesson. He met her gaze. No, Linda. It was about reminding myself that love without loyalty is a curse. He turned to leave, but she reached through the bars and grabbed his sleeve. Michael, please, just tell me one thing. Did you ever love me? He hesitated, then whispered, once. But that woman's been gone a long time. As he walked away, her sobs echoed through the corridor. Outside, the sky darkened with rain, the same way it had the day he first left for Okuru. David met him by the car. Dad, what now? Michael looked toward the horizon. Now we rebuild. Not the company, but the family that's left. Tommy sat quietly in the back seat, her eyes red but dry. She whispered, I'll never betray someone like Mom did, I promise. Michael reached back and took her hand. Don't promise. Just live differently. The rain began to fall harder, blurring the city lights as the car drove off. Back in her cell, Linda held the bracelet Michael once gave her on their anniversary, the only thing she'd been allowed to keep. She pressed it against her chest and whispered, You tested me, Michael, but I'll rise again. You'll see. Her words hung in the darkness, a vow that hinted the story wasn't over. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't. Rain poured heavily over the city that night, streaking against the glass windows of Michael's penthouse. The thunder rolled softly in the distance as he sat on the couch, lost in thought. David walked in with 2 mugs of coffee. You haven't slept again, Dad. Michael smiled faintly. Sleep? It feels foreign these days. David handed him the mug. You did the right thing. She would have ruined everything. Michael took a long sip, his eyes distant. Maybe. But doing the right thing doesn't always feel right, son. David hesitated. Do you still love her? The question lingered. Michael exhaled slowly. I think I'll always love who she used to be. But the woman I saw these past months, I don't recognize her. David nodded silently. Suddenly the intercom buzzed. Sir, there's a woman downstairs asking to see you, the guard said. Michael frowned. Who? She says her name is Grace. Sorry, Linda. David's eyes widened. What? She's out? Michael stood. Let her up. Minutes later, the elevator doors slid open and Linda stepped out. She looked nothing like the woman who once wore diamonds and arrogance. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled, and her eyes, once sharp, were soft and broken. Michael said nothing. She swallowed hard. I didn't come here to beg, I just needed to say I'm sorry. He looked at her quietly. Sorry doesn't undo what's done. I know, she said, voice shaking. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. She reached into her bag and pulled out a crumpled letter. I wrote this when I was inside. I didn't have anyone else to talk to. He didn't take it. Say what you came to say. Linda's lips trembled. I know you'll never take me back. I don't even deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know I was lost. And when people are drowning, they grab anything that floats, even if it's poison. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I loved you, Michael. I just didn't love myself enough to believe you'd stay when the money disappeared. For a moment, silence filled the room except for the rain. Michael looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time saw not the betrayer but the broken woman beneath. Linda, he said softly, you didn't fail me because you fell. You failed because you refused to stand after falling. She sobbed quietly. You think I can still stand? That's up to you, he said. But don't do it for me. Do it for the woman you lost inside yourself. She nodded slowly, wiping her tears. David, standing nearby, stepped forward. Mom, We can still help you, but it has to start with honesty. She turned to him, guilt flooding her face. David, you were the only one who stood by him. I saw you watch me lie, cheat, and still you never hated me. I don't deserve to be your mother. David shook his head. No one's perfect, Mom. But you taught me what not to become. Her lip quivered. It hurt, but it was the truth she needed to hear. Michael placed his coffee down and turned to the window. Linda, I can't erase what's happened. I can't give us another beginning. But I can give you something most people never get. A second chance to start clean. She frowned, confused. What do you mean? He handed her an envelope. Inside was a deed. A small house, paid for. You can live there, rebuild quietly away from all this. Her eyes widened. You'd do that? After everything? He nodded. Because vengeance is heavy and I'm done carrying it. She broke down again, covering her face. Thank you, Michael. I don't deserve this. He looked at her sadly. Neither did I deserve betrayal. But forgiveness isn't about who deserves what. It's about who needs peace. There was a soft knock at the door. Tommy appeared, hesitant, her eyes red and swollen. When she saw her mother, she froze. Mom? Linda turned, and for a long, painful moment, neither spoke. Finally, Tommy ran forward and hugged her. I missed you, Mom. Please don't leave again. Linda held her tightly. I missed you too, baby. Michael watched them silently, his heart heavy but calm. David, he said quietly, take your sister to her room. I need a moment alone with your mother. As they left, Linda looked back, scared. You're not angry anymore? Michael's voice was calm. No. Anger burns fast, regret burns slow. When the room was quiet again, he said softly, You once told me love without money is useless. But do you see now that money without love is worse? She nodded. I see it now. Too late. He walked to his desk, picked up a small box, and handed it to her. You remember this? Her eyes widened as she opened it. The silver crown pendant he had given her on their 10th anniversary. It was always meant to remind us that loyalty is the real crown, he said. I kept it because I believed one day you'd understand. Linda clutched it tightly to her chest, tears streaming down her cheeks. I understand now, Michael smiled faintly. Then wear it again. Not as a wife's crown, but as a woman's promise to herself. She nodded, whispering, Thank you. He walked her to the door. Before she stepped into the elevator, she turned. Michael, one last thing. If time could rewind, I'd choose you, not your money. He smiled sadly. Maybe in another life. The elevator doors closed, and for the first time in months, Michael felt something shift inside him. Not joy, not sorrow, but peace. The next morning, the Adetayo family sat around the breakfast table for the first time in years. Tommy served pancakes. David read the newspaper aloud. The laughter was quiet, hesitant, but it was real. Michael looked at his children and smiled. You both stayed when it mattered, and that's all the wealth I'll ever need. David grinned. Then let's make sure we never lose it again. Tommy added playfully. Unless you plan another fake bankruptcy, Dad. He chuckled. Never again. They laughed, the kind of laughter that sounded like healing. Days passed. Linda moved into her small home in the suburbs. She started volunteering at a community women's center, helping others rebuild from broken marriages and bad decisions. She never called Michael again, but sometimes she sent letters, never asking for forgiveness, just gratitude. And though he never replied, Michael kept every single one of them in a drawer. Months later, he visited the village of Okuru again. He stood in front of the small house where it all began. The same place where his family broke apart. and where he first discovered truth. A small boy ran up to him. "Sir, you're the rich man who used to live here." Michael smiled. "Rich? Maybe, but I came here poor, and that's where I found everything that mattered." The boy grinned. "Are you sad your wife left you?" Michael crouched, smiling softly. "She didn't leave me, son. She just took a longer road back to herself." As he walked away, the sun broke through the clouds, scattering light across the red earth. A faint smile touched his lips as he whispered, "Sometimes losing everything is how you learn the value of anything." He climbed into his car and drove off toward the horizon, free, humbled, and whole. Hello, friends. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment, and tell us where you're watching from. Nigeria, Kenya, Canada, London, or New York. We love hearing from you. And of course, subscribe for more emotional and powerful stories like this. See you in the next one.